Welcome to another Gaz Right video and welcome to the top 10 things to do in Australia. If you do find it useful, if you do find it engaging, please do hit the subscribe button. Now en route to 3k subs. Let's get straight into it and kick off with an absolute banger. This is the Great Barrier Reef. If you want the full experience, you've got to get yourself up in the chopper, aerial top-down view. It's a level above the drone. We went on the super yacht option, which was £130 per person, but unbelievable scenery. We went to two different areas of the reef, beautiful water, silly amounts of marine life, and an absolute sensational lunch. You can do this for about half the price if you want to come down on the options, but for me, it was worth every penny. Up in Darwin, up in the north, Litchfield National Park, absolute aquatic wet dream. You can get flying about, you can swim in a few of the natural pools, and just a huge area to explore, loads of different animals within the park itself. And do check which areas you can and cannot go to depending on the croc season, because yeah, you are in the north and they are rife up there. As you're driving around, you've got to be careful because you can bump into some of these fellas on the roads themselves. But it's a beautiful landscape, super remote, and there's different kind of hikes that you can do. We did a hike on the first day where we didn't see anyone for about 2.5 hours, or if you want to be in the thick of it, you can get yourself here to one of the more popular watering holes, loads of people swimming, and you can hike to the top of the waterfall here, about 45 minutes up and round, or you can just sit back, chill, relax, and get yourself in the mix. Next up is Fitzroy Island. You are going to burn the cars, burn the quads to get up to these sensational, scintillating views. This got nominated the world's best beach in 2018 on this island, and you'll see why in just a short second. 360-degree panoramic views, as you can see, the general on the hill, at the watchtower, at the lighthouse. It is an absolute unbelievable full-day trip. Do the hike first and then enjoy the beach in the old afternoon. Here you can see it again from the drone, getting that straight into the old retinas. This was a phenomenal day out. Here is the beach, 2018 best beach in the world as voted by the experts. You've got silly colours in the water here. One thing I was a little bit surprised by, I thought it'd be super clear when we were in there. However, it was very cloudy. So again, if they were judging it this year, it might not actually hit the same mark, but obviously you cannot take away from the actual beauty of the place. Silly colours just flying about, and this is a super relaxing day. As I say, do the hike in the morning, earn the relax in the afternoon. There's a place where you can get lunch here, but there's only one hotel on the island, so you can stay there, or it's a day trip from Cairns along with the Great Barrier Reef. This is only going to set you back £50 per person because it is just a boat that literally drops you off on the island and picks you up and takes you back in the evening. So a little bit lighter on the old wallet, but yeah, a little bit more exploring and hiking up into the hills. I'd probably say it's about a 2.5 hour hike. So do that in the morning, then you have like 2-3 hours in the afternoon to do a bit of snorkeling and fly about the old beaches. But once you're rested, recuperated, you've got to go and watch a game of Aussie Rules. We turned up, we knew absolutely nothing. Basically, they kick it through the outer post, 1 point. If they kick it through the inner post, 6 points, and the points fly up pretty bloody quickly. We went to see the Gold Coast Suns. They got absolutely annihilated. I think the best teams you want to watch are down in Melbourne. That's where they take the thing a little bit more seriously, but yeah, I guess it depends on what city you're going to. Fairly easy to get tickets, and it worked out about £22 a person. This is what their ultras looked like, not the King and not Liv, these fellas on the right hand side. So yeah, about as much atmosphere as at the old Etihad Stadium. But do not make the mistake that me and the General did. Not sure why we thought it'd be a good idea to turn up in the Australia shirts to a local Aussie Rule game, like turned up an England shirt to a Man City game. Absolutely shambolic. One of the highlights of the trip though was Australia Zoo. This place is about an hour's drive from Brisbane, so I would highlight getting a car, and you can tie this in with the Glass Island Mountains hiking, which is coming a little bit later in the old video. But this place, I would describe it as like an immersive zoo. You can get in multiple different pens here with the kangaroos. Fortunately or unfortunately, you can't get in with the old tigers or any of the bigger stuff. But yeah, they have different shows on throughout the day, every single hour, starting about 9 AM, working through. So there's a tiger show, there's different engagement like feeding the elephants. You can even go to this island where they just had these bearded dragons flying about in the absolute mix. So there's nothing between you and them. So obviously a big focus on conservation and how well they kind of treat the animals here. Again, there was like an interactive session with like the tortoise, the elephant, and the crocodiles as well. Learned so much about crocodiles in Australia. Do you know what I mean? 10 times the power in the jaw of a great white shark can lower their heart rate to about 5 beats per minute, and they can actually turn in the water without making any current. So the absolute apex predator they are. Probably the fan favourite though has to be the lions and the old elephant, legends of the absolute scene itself. You are looking at about £50 per person to go in here, and these are the crocodiles. They have a huge viewing deck where you can sit, get some lunch and watch the shows. They're usually at midday, the crocodile ones, but do check this in advance depending on what time a day you want to be at different areas of the park, because it is pretty big, so don't leave it too last minute, otherwise you're going to have a pretty terrible view. Whilst you're in Brisbane, another area you need to check out is the Coo-tha Lookout. About a 15-minute taxi or bus ride out of town, and it's just, as it says on the tin, it's just a beautiful little viewing point. You can get a little coffee, you can get a little beer wari, you can get a little lunch, or if you just want to chill, relax and just take the views in, that is what you can well do. Silly views over the whole of Brisbane. I think for me, Brisbane was what I describe as the Manchester of Australia. It has that kind of big city vibe, but you are still very close to the Glasshouse Mountains, you're still close to the Coo-tha Lookout, and Australia Zoo as well, so that's a little bit of everything. And one of the key points kind of underpinning the whole of Australia for me is versatility. You have the beauty, the nature, the environment, the beaches, the animals, the wildlife, but then you have that kind of huge like inner city feel within Brisbane and in Sydney. We didn't get as close down to Melbourne, but I feel as if that's kind of similar down there. Obviously up in Cairns, a bit more of a holiday type destination, but yeah, this lookout again, it's giving you 360 panoramic views. Obviously one side of the city, the other side into the distance, into the hills, into the wildlife, into the old nature. We were super lucky in terms of what time of year we went and the weather, so we were there in August, which is generally quite cold, but it was like 25 degrees to 35 degrees, pure sun every single day, so can't be arguing anything like that. For me, you want to start in the north and work your way down, work your way to the south and finish in Sydney, which I describe as the holy grail. But depending on what time of year, you might want to reverse that and get the end of summer in the most southern places on the island itself. But there's viewpoints, there's nature, there's taking things in, but there's nothing that can quite beat a nice little barbecue, because they are all over Australia. Something I'm not sure how well we treat in the UK, but all on these parks you can get a little goat beer named after the general himself. People playing a little bit the old Aussie rules, and yeah, they just have these barbecues. You just turn up with all your meats, your steaks, your chickens, the king on a little kangaroo number, and yeah, you can just whip up whatever you want. You have got to watch out for these little bin chicken fellas, which will be over to steal your narbs, steal your drinks, steal your food at any possible occasion they can. We're actually got a few of the old kangaroo steaks here, which, you know what, we're absolutely banging. The general doing absolute bit waries as always. It's not the chef cooking today, it is the general whipping things up on the old barbecue. I would definitely advise getting some of these metal trays though. It's just going to save you cleaning everything up towards the end, because if not, it'll be absolute carnage. And if you want a big surprise, go and watch my Gold Coast vlog. Em's best friend, who she hadn't seen in 2 years, turns up out of nowhere, turns up out of the night and surprises her. And speaking of night, you have to get a little sunset. There are so many good ones. The two highlights for me will be the one up in Darwin in the north. Again, silly colours, so red, so dark, and then when the sun went in, so purple. And then the one we had over the harbour bridge. Get yourself to the Sydney Opera Bar about an hour and a half before sunset. Get a little beer in the system and just watch the sun fall out the sky. Silly colours, and yeah, absolutely beautiful. One of the highlights in Sydney, in Australia, has to be going to Bondi Beach, world famous, and of course the icebergs in the distance as well. A recurring theme, as you'll probably see through this vlog, or if you go back and watch some of my others, are, do you know what I mean, me talking about how crystal clear, how blue, how turquoise the water is. And again, Bondi Beach is no other. As a silly clip where literally at the end of this clip we lost the drone for about 15 minutes battling away in 50 km/h winds to get it back in. You can see the wind on my shorts just there, but we did manage to save it. And yeah, if you are going to go to Bondi, you have to check out the old icebergs. To go swimming there, it's $10, which is about £5 to go in. It is unbelievably cold. People were swimming in wetsuits. Obviously, I braved a couple lengths. I think I swam 4 in total and was absolutely Baltic. But in summer months, that's going to be a little bit nicer on you. I think this is the fan favourite in terms of beaches, specifically in Sydney. I preferred Tamarama Beach, which, as you can see here, a little bit more secluded, a little bit smaller. There's loads of places to change, get a coffee, get a beer, just at the side of the old sand, and yeah, watch the surfers come in. Again, copy and paste, crystal clear turquoise waters. It's just absolute unbelievable scenery. There's lots of things to do, obviously, within Sydney itself, but if you want to go a little bit further afield, you can get yourself over to the Blue House Mountains. Unbelievable scenes, as you can see in the kind of center of the clip now. You can get on the little kind of gondola going across, or you can just hike around this entire ridge. I think you want to go to where the Three Sisters are. That's probably the best viewpoint of the entire the entire area. Not the Blue House Mountains, the Blue Mountains themselves. We'll save the House Mountains for the Glass House Mountains a little bit later, but everywhere you go here, you're going to be getting unbelievable views, looking out into the distance, looking down these little canyons, and it's just ridiculous for the little amount of walking you need to do to get these views. For me, an absolute highlight. I do like to earn my viewpoints, but if you do want to kind of reduce the walking, this is going to be the spot for you. However, if you do fancy a little walk, a little hike, and earning some of the old calories, there are a crazy amount of walks here, canyon walks. They're super steep, as you can see the king traversing these steps on the way out of one of the many valleys that we went into, and yeah, this obviously walking down these little canyons as well. Check the views out here, just absolutely ridiculous scenes, and probably gets their name from the unbelievable like blue skies and colors in terms of, again, the old landscape. This is like a nice, easy, relaxing hike. However, one of the most challenging things we ever attempted in our entire life was at the Glasshouse Mountains. Do not do this as a hike. This is genuinely a climb. We were naive to think that we'd be able to take this on. Here we are walking through, all plain, all simple, before we got hit with this absolute rock face. We made it up a tiny way up the mountain before realizing we're not going to be able to summit this. Check this out. They were like, you're nearly at the top. We've probably made it up about 10% of the mountain itself, so we changed it up and went for a little hike all the way around for 11k instead of going up and over the mountain. If you do want to take on something a bit ridiculous, this is going to be the spot for you. But yeah, absolute ridiculous scenes. Every single thing you've seen today, I've got a separate day vlog on every single area, every single place we've been to within Australia itself. Obviously the highlights for me are going to be Sydney. Phenomenal bit of kit, versatility running through the old bones. But yeah, there is far too much to cram into these videos, so yeah, go back, check those out. If you do have any questions, anything else you'd like to know, whack it down in the old comments. I respond to every single message. Whilst you're down there, hit that subscribe button. Still en route to 3k subs. We're currently in South America, so the content is coming thick and fast this year, and can't wait to share more of it with you. I'll see you in the next one, baby. Remember, the chef is always cooking. Let's get it.